Hey everyone, it's Steve here from theemotionmachine.com, and this video is going to be about the power of talking to yourself in the third person. Now, we all talk to ourselves throughout the day. We all have an inner voice that sort of narrates our life as we go about it. And naturally, when we talk to ourselves, we use a first person perspective. We usually use the word I. So, say you make a mistake at work, you might think, oh, I need to stay more focused. I made this mistake. I need to avoid repeating this mistake in the future. I need to be more motivated at work. And so it's natural that we use the first person perspective. It comes more naturally to us to refer to ourselves as I, obviously. But new research is showing that it can actually be more beneficial to talk to yourself in the third person. There was a study that was published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology about a couple years ago, and the title of the study was Self-Talk as a Regulatory Mechanism, How You Do It Matters. So what they did was they looked at different groups and had one group talk to themselves in the first person and the other group talk to themselves in the third person by referring to themselves, actually using their name. So instead of saying, I made a mistake, I need to focus more, they say, Steve made a mistake, Steve needs to focus more. And they looked at participants in several different situations. One of them was wanting to make a good first impression on someone that you just met. And they would have these two groups either reflect in the first person or the third person. So you might say in the first person, I'm a likable person, this person will like me if they get to know me, I actually am a good person to talk to. And then they would have people in the third person say things like, Steve is a likable person, if people get to know Steve, they'll like him, and Steve has a lot of strengths. And what they found was that when people talked to themselves in the third person, they actually had less of an emotional reaction to the situation. They were less stressed out about going to meet this person, and they actually performed better in these social interactions. Another scenario was before a job interview. They would have people reflect on the first person, in the first person or in the third person, and they found that people that reflected in the third person before the job interview actually performed better in the job interview. So this is just goes to show how different ways you talk to yourself can have an impact on how you feel and also how you act. The study theorized that when you talk to yourself in the third person, it actually creates a distancing effect. So it's almost like you're giving yourself advice as a separate person in a way, and you're more distanced from the criticism or the advice or the self-talk. So when you are able to distance yourself, you're not as emotionally reactive, and you can think a little bit more clearly and a little bit more rationally about the situation when you refer to yourself in the third person. You're sort of looking at yourself from an outside perspective. You're looking at yourself from a more objective perspective. And when your brain processes you talking to yourself in the third person, it kind of feels like it's coming from another person, which can be a very powerful thing. So let's pretend you're playing a tennis match and you make a mistake on the court. Instead of saying to yourself, oh, I need to focus more, I need to follow through on my swing, or I need to start my swing earlier, say to yourself, Steve needs to focus more. Steve, you need to follow through on your swing. You need to swing harder. And when you talk to yourself in the third person, you just process that information better because it feels like it's coming from someone else. It feels like you're getting advice or you're getting encouragement from someone else. And that can have a big effect on your brain because it's not just you telling yourself that, it feels like it's someone else telling yourself that. I sometimes have people go through this exercise. I ask them, what's a piece of advice that you really need to hear right now? What's something that you need to hear from your boss or your spouse or your friend? And then think of that advice and then tell it to yourself. And that's beneficial because when I ask that question, what do you need someone else to tell you right now? You can think more objectively about what you really need and what you really need to hear. And then you can determine whatever that is that you need to hear, and then you can tell it to yourself, especially in the third person. Say, Steve, you're actually a good guy. Steve, you're actually pretty smart, and you're actually pretty, intelligent. And when you say that advice to yourself in the third person, it feels psychologically different. It feels psychologically different than when I say, "Oh, I'm actually a strong person with a lot of strengths." And instead of saying that, I say, "Steve, you're actually a strong person with a lot of strengths." And it just feels more believable because it feels like I'm hearing it from someone else. So this just goes to show how speaking to yourself in the third person can actually make a psychological difference than speaking to yourself in the first person. And this is also useful to know for when you're creating affirmations maybe, or when you're writing down your thoughts in a journal or diary. You might want to try out writing these affirmations in the third person, and crafting your affirmations in the third person, because again, it feels like you're getting the advice from someone else, and that just makes it feel more believable to you. It makes it feel like, oh, I'm not just deluding myself by saying I'm this or I'm that, or I'm really motivated and I'm really awesome. You're saying, Steve's really awesome, and Steve is really motivated, and Steve has strengths and good qualities. And just framing it in that third person perspective can make your affirmations more powerful and more believable, and have a stronger psychological impact on you. So try to keep this in mind if you're someone that uses affirmations, or if you like to write in a journal every day. Try out writing about yourself in the third person and see if it makes a difference to you. Try it out and see if it feels different, if it feels more powerful to you. So that's all I really wanted to share with you guys. I think the way we use self-talk and the way that we use our inner voice is a very important thing, and it makes a difference in how you feel and how you think and how you act. So I'm always looking for tips and ways of improving my inner voice and making it more powerful, and making my inner voice serve me and my goals more, and as a way to improve myself and change my behaviors. So I recommend trying this out and trying to use the power of talking to yourself in the third person, and see how it works for you. Maybe it won't work for you. Maybe it'll feel a little bit weird, or maybe it won't have an effect on you. But there is some research to show that talking to yourself in the third person can have a beneficial psychological impact. So I think that's something to pay attention to as you talk to yourself throughout the day, or as you write down affirmations or write in your diary. And I think it's something worth paying attention to. So try it out, see how it feels for you. I think using our inner voice is all about experimenting and seeing how to make it more effective. So that's all I wanted to share with you guys. Please subscribe to my channel to stay updated on new videos about psychology and self-improvement. And I look forward to talking with you guys again soon.